Ever feel like you're just drowning in headlines? Like you see the news, but getting the real story takes, well, too much time.
Yeah, like drinking from that fire hose, right? It's overwhelming.
Exactly. So that's what we do here. We try to cut through that noise, give you the deeper understanding without the headache.
Get you that backstage pass.
Right. And today, we're jumping into something that's definitely been buzzing. This big push to bring American manufacturing back home, often using tariffs.
It's a really potent image, isn't it? That whole Made in America revival strikes a chord.
It really does. And I bet a lot of listeners have thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Many people do. It evokes this maybe a golden era feeling for some national strength, good jobs.
Totally. But okay, our mission today isn't just to nod along. We want to dig deeper. Like, what's the actual theory behind this?
And what are the real hurdles? Because it's not as simple as just wanting it to happen.
Exactly. And crucially, what does it really mean for workers today? Are these jobs people actually want? Or, jobs that are even sustainable long term?
We've got some interesting analysis, some polling data, too, that paints a, well, more complicated picture.
Yeah, it's not black and white. There's the desire, and then there's the,
True.
let's say, the ground reality.
Exactly. It's easy to get swept up in the nostalgia, but the facts kind of force us to look at today's economy, today's workforce.
Okay, so let's paint that picture first. The core idea, right?
Yeah.
Slap tariffs on imports.
Mm-hmm.
Make foreign goods more expensive.
And boom. Companies rush back, factories open up, we're making everything here again. Kind of like the 1950s vision.
That's the narrative, yeah. Recapturing that industrial might where manufacturing was king, those old photos, Huge factories, lots of workers.
A powerful symbol. But, the world's different now.
Oh, completely. The global economy, technology, it's just not the 1950s anymore.
And even though the U.S. is still, surprisingly, a huge manufacturer number 2 globally, right?
Yeah.
That's right. People often forget that. We still make a lot of stuff.
But the trend, it's undeniable. We've shifted heavily towards services, tech, healthcare, hospitality. That's where so much growth has been.
That's the clear long-term shift. Now, here's where it gets interesting with the public opinion.
Right, those polls. Like 80% of Americans say, yeah, the country would be better off with more manufacturing jobs. 80%.
That's a huge majority. It really shows how appealing that idea is: security, self-reliance, good jobs.
You might be nodding along right now listening to this.
Probably. It feels right, doesn't it?
But then, here's the kicker. Same polls, different question. Would you personally be better off working in a factory?
And the number just plummets.
Yeah, only about 25%, a quarter. So 80% think it's good for the country, but only 25% see it as good for them.
And that's the puzzle, isn't it? What explains that gap?
Why the disconnect? Do you fall into that 75% majority? What's going on there?
Is it the nature of the work itself? Or are service jobs just, more appealing now? Flexibility, maybe. Different environment.
Could be. And, we can't ignore some of the rhetoric around this whole thing either.
Oh, definitely not.
There's this emphasis sometimes on the traditionally male sectors, manufacturing, mining, construction.
Right, that testosterone boost comment someone made about tariffs.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
And the idea that, working on a screen isn't real work or something.
Which is, a whole cultural discussion in itself. We're not endorsing that view, obviously.
No, just observing it's part of the conversation. It taps into certain ideas about labor.
Exactly. But, okay, let's get practical. Moving past the talk. Reshoring manufacturing. Bringing those supply chains back.
Yeah, that's not like ordering pizza, is it?
Not even close. We're talking massive long-term investments. Years, maybe decades, to shift operations.
And think about it from a business perspective. If the tariff policy might change next election cycle.
Why would you risk billions on moving everything? That uncertainty is a huge disincentive. It really puts the brakes on big changes.
Good point. And another thing that gets missed sometimes. It's not just about globalization, sending jobs overseas.
Right, technology. That's been a massive, massive driver of change in manufacturing.
Automation, robotics.
Yeah.
The way things are made now is just fundamentally different. You often need way fewer people.
Precisely. Efficiency gains have been enormous. So even if some production comes back, it doesn't automatically mean a huge surge in jobs like we saw 50, 60 years ago.
And the jobs themselves are different too, right? Need different skills.
Often higher skills, yeah. More technical expertise. Which leads us back to the workforce.
Back to that person in the office, or maybe working in a hospital or a restaurant. Are they really thinking, man, I wish I could work on an assembly line?
The perception seems to be probably not. Many see factory work as potentially lower pay than what they have, or similarly pay but with tougher conditions.
Like demanding schedules, mandatory overtime, maybe just not as appealing overall compared to other options they see.
There was that quote from an economist. It's pretty striking. Something like, maybe we should be happy that nobody in the U.S. has to do some of those jobs anymore.
Wow, yeah. It makes you pause, doesn't it? Think about the really grueling, repetitive, maybe even dangerous tasks.
Are we glad those aren't common here now? It's a fair question.
That reminds me of that old Dave Chappelle joke, I want to wear Nikes, I don't want to make them.
Haha, yeah, that captures a certain sentiment, doesn't it? The idea sounds good abstractly, but the reality of the work, maybe not so much.
And the current job market actually backs this up. There's already a shortage.
A big one. Projections are showing something like, almost 4 million manufacturing openings by 2033?
Yeah, 3.8 million.
Yeah.
And the really worrying part, maybe half, nearly 2 million, could go unfilled.
That's staggering. So the jobs are potentially there, or will be, but finding people is the problem.
And why is that? It's a mix of things, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the existing workforce aging out, retirement.
Less immigration than in the past, maybe?
Skills gap is a big one. Not enough workers trained for modern manufacturing.
And younger people just choosing other paths, not seeing manufacturing as a desirable career.
Seems like it. You mentioned that story from Tennessee.
Oh yeah, the car wash paying more than the Nissan plant. That really tells you something about how jobs are valued right now.
It really does. If a car wash is more competitive financially, wow.
And it makes that Cato Institute researchers' point sound pretty strong, if there's this supposed great appetite for manufacturing jobs.
Then why are so many positions already empty? Where's this huge pool of eager workers?
Exactly, kind of challenges that whole premise.
Okay, but let's tackle the counter-argument. The promise isn't just any jobs, it's good jobs, right?
Right, that's the pitch. Stable jobs, good pay, benefits, pensions, the whole package that built the middle class. That's the dream they're selling.
It's a powerful dream, taps right into that nostalgia. But
Uh-huh.
how does it stack up today?
Well, the data shows average manufacturing pay has actually slipped. It's now below the overall average for all U.S. workers.
That's a crucial shift, and a big reason for that is...
Unions, right, or the lack thereof, compared to the past.
Exactly. Union density in manufacturing has fallen dramatically, and unions were key to negotiating those good wages and benefits back in the day.
So that economist from the Economic Policy Institute basically said, look, if you bring back a bunch of non-union manufacturing jobs...
They just won't be those good jobs of the past. The structure isn't there to guarantee it.
It all comes back to that idealized 1950s image, the breadwinner with the factory job.
We remember the stability, perhaps, but maybe gloss over the downsides, the danger, the monotony, the physical wear and tear.
Yeah, that quote really nailed it. People have in their head that manufacturing is working for UAW, getting paid pretty well, nice pension, and that's just not the world we live in anymore.
The world has changed. The jobs have changed.
And then there's the elephant in the room.
Hmm.
Or maybe the robot in the room. Automation.
Always looming, isn't it? Many of those lower value, repetitive tasks, they're either already automated or prime candidates to be.
It feels almost inevitable.
It's a fundamental shift. A lot of the jobs that went overseas for cheap labor, if they come back, they might come back as automated processes, not human jobs.
Which totally changes the job creation calculation.
Completely. And there's also this sense that, maybe Americans just aren't willing to do the most basic assembly line type work anymore.
We saw those social media posts from China suggesting that, didn't we?
Right. And it ties into economic development. As countries get richer, people tend to move away from that kind of labor.
Like that professor said about, say, bringing back low-wage garment making.
Mm-hmm.
Could we even do it without making clothes way more expensive?
Probably not. Consumers likely wouldn't accept that price hike. We're used to affordable goods, partly because of the global system and our own service sector incomes.
Would we trade affordable electronics and cars for more manufacturing jobs, especially if they aren't high-paying?
It's a tough trade-off. And even with tariffs, the stark reality is a lot of returning work might just get automated almost immediately.
So very few net new human jobs in those cases.
Technology has just changed the equation. You don't need 1950s level workforces anymore.
Okay, but the counter to the automation argument is new jobs get created, right? Someone has to maintain the robots.
That's the argument. The Commerce Secretary talked about needing robot mechanics, technicians.
Right. But
Yeah,
how realistic is that on a large scale? Do we have the training pipelines? Are people eager to become robot mechanics?
good questions. And are those jobs truly secure long term? That researcher asked the key question. Are we bringing back jobs that have a great future?
Especially with AI developing so fast. Could AI eventually automate the robot mechanics too? It's dizzying.
It is. So look, that vision of a manufacturing renaissance, it has pull emotionally, but the sources we've looked at show it's just really complex.
Yeah, not simple at all. Now, to be fair, there are solid reasons to think about domestic manufacturing. National security, for sure.
Critical sectors, yeah. And manufacturing can be a source of innovation, a creative engine.
True. And modern manufacturing can be cleaner, less physically demanding. It can create indirect jobs too.
And if productivity goes up because of tech, maybe wages could rise eventually. It's not all negative.
And this idea of industrial policy, it has support across the aisle, right?
Yeah.
Democrats and Republicans are interested.
They are, but the debate is about how to do it. Is this tariff-heavy approach the best way? Is it targeted effectively?
Especially when you think about other big labor needs facing the country.
Like healthcare, caregiving. With an aging population, the demand there is just enormous and growing.
Maybe we should also focus on making those jobs, often seen as female-coded, more attractive, better pay, better conditions.
That's a really important point. Where should our policy focus be?
So it brings us back to the start. That
Good.
nostalgia is powerful, that longing for maybe a simpler time.
But we have to ask, were those old jobs really as great as we remember? And do they fit what people want and what the economy needs today?
The sources really lay out those tensions. The desire versus the reality, technology changing everything, workers wanting different things.
Yeah, it's clear that just bringing back manufacturing isn't some magic bullet for the economy or for job quality.
It's way more complicated.
Much more. We have to look beyond the nostalgia and deal with the complexities of now and the future.
Which leaves one big question for everyone listening, I think. Considering all this, the push, the reluctance, the tech, the other needs, what kind of work do you think will define America's future?
What skills matter most tomorrow? And does that romantic vision of the past really help us get there?
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.